Alright, what's up people, and welcome to this new discography ranking on the channel. Today, I have the misfortune of carrying out my promise of tackling the discography of prolific Australian band King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And when I say prolific, I damn well mean it. This band having been around for the better part of a decade and a half, the band have like 27 or 28 full-length albums under their belt by now, is absolutely mind-boggling. I'm going to be tackling every single one, discussing each of these albums, what I liked and disliked from each, and ranking them from my personal least favourite all the way up to my most favourite, for better or for worse. For better for you guys, for worse for me and my vocal cords, because we will be here for a while discussing this band and its quite fun discography, I will say. Just warning you now, my ranking will be very unique and might be quite shocking for the average King Gizzard fan. Not that there's anything average about King Gizzard or its fan base. But in case you haven't noticed, there are a lot of damn albums to get through in this video, so we're just going to cut to the chase and begin, starting at my least favourite going up to my favourite. And we're going to whiz through these first two entries because they aren't technically full lengths. We're going to discuss Teenage Gizzard Project and Wiloughby's Beach EP. Now, why did these rank last? Well, they are the first two released chronologically for the band, and one of them is an EP. Let's talk about Teenage Gizzard first. So this feels like an early attempt at the psychedelic rock that the band would go into in their early career. Songs like Hey There and Sleep, very much so in that psychedelic vein. There's a faster, more punk rock energy on tracks like Trenchfoot, Life is Cool and Summer. The production sounds so lo-fi in this one, with the warm, fuzzy mix, which is kind of the appeal of psychedelic rock. I think that Ants and Bats benefit from that like fuzzy lo-fi sound as well. But I do feel like Teenage Giz is definitely sloppier and less well-rounded than Wiloughby's Beach, which we're going to talk about now. This EP also has the psychedelic rock tendencies that I was talking about, but with a heavier lean on garage punk in some ways. Has the same fuzzy, lo-fi, low-budget production as Teenage Giz. Punk energy is all over this one, with Lunch Meat, Deadbeat and Dustbin Fletcher. The psychedelic vibes return on songs like Crocodile and Let It Bleed, and then the title track of this one kind of foreshadows the band's first official full-length, that being 12 Bar Bruise. All in all, Teenage Giz and Wiloughby's Beach are releases I don't really ever find myself visiting all that often unless it's for a full discography dive, which I'll be honest, doesn't happen very often due to the size of the band's discography, but that's not to say there aren't bright spots on these releases. It's just what these releases offer, I can find on other better releases from the band. So now, we begin officially with ranking the band's full-length album, starting at the bottom and working up. From my 27th favourite full-length Gizzard album all the way up to my first, we begin at the bottom with Oddments, the band's fourth full-length overall. I've heard conflicting reports about this, but I hear that this release is a compilation album comprised of cut tracks from the band's early works of 12 Bar Bruise, Eyes Like the Sky, Float Along Fill Your Lungs, you know? And when you take that into account, you can really see what I mean when you listen to tracks like Hot Wax and Stressin'. Those tracks definitely sound like they would have belonged in Float Along Fill Your Lungs. And then songs like Sleepwalker, I could have easily seen ending up on 12 Bar Bruise. The title track and ABABCD having like that early punk energy of maybe Wiloughby's Beach or something. And then maybe Crying and It's Got Old could have easily ended up on Eyes Like the Sky with a few tweaking bits here and there. All in all, Oddments is a fine full-length album, but besides a couple tracks like Hot Wax and Vegemite, I never really find myself revisiting this release all that often, so that's why I had to rank all the way down here at the bottom of the list. But that's not to say it's awful, I definitely did enjoy moments on this thing. But now we move in to the 26th spot on the list. We have Made in Timeland. This album is interesting to me. It's kind of like a musical scientist experiment in a lot of ways, which is something the band definitely does a lot. This album adheres to a 60 beat per minute thing, which is basically just the ticking of a clock, which is the album's concept. I find it interesting. I think that this album was meant to be an exclusive release for the Timeland tour, but ended up getting a physical release due to high demand, right? Which is fun. It also is comprised of two 15-minute tracks, the album spanning, of course, half an hour in length exactly, is a fun motif, it's a fun gimmick. But it does unfortunately mean that there's less music to offer than a traditional full-length album that maybe spans 40 to 50 minutes, right? But I won't let the runtime detract from the enjoyment factor of this thing. I actually like that it's shorter and sweeter, but it didn't drag on and bore me. This album musically is very weird and different compared to the band's other stuff, and that's saying a lot because the band do a lot of different stuff. This album is definitely more leaning on the progressive electronic, dare I say, if I were to put a label on it. The song Timeland is way more synth focused, whereas Smoke and Mirrors is definitely the more ambitious track and definitely my personal favourite of the two. Though I don't find Smoke and Mirrors enjoyable in its entirety, I think there are definitely moments in there that I really enjoy. There's a nice rap bit in there as well. All in all, it's a very interesting release that stands out from the pack due to it being so different from the rest of the band's album. But yeah, Made in Timeland, I don't visit it as often due to the length of the songs in this release and the fact that the musical direction of this album isn't something I usually dig, but that's not to detract from the enjoyment of it. I really enjoyed revisiting this release for ranking this video. And now we move in to my 25th favourite King Gizzard album. God, so many. We have the Silver Chord. So this record is similar in theme, not in musicality, to the other album that the band released that year with Petrodragonic Apocalypse. And what I like most about Silver Chord is that it very much complements Petrodragonic Apocalypse. They definitely have similar, like, lyrical themes in the track listings. And we'll get to Petrodragonic when we get to that album. For now, let's talk about the Silver Chord. The electronic push on this album was very welcomed and refreshing for me. Hot take here, by the way, I believe the extended versions are mostly the correct way to listen to this album. Depending on the songs though. For example, the song Thea definitely needed longer than 3 minutes to develop in the shortened one, but definitely didn't need to drag out for 20 minutes in the extended either, did it? But I do believe the extended versions for the most part offer more insights into what places the songs can go, and it's a way more like laid back, vibey way to listen to it. The title track is so creepy in tone and mood, and Set is such a fun boogie filled track. You also get more glimpses into the what could have been for the rapping style of King Gizzard with songs like Set and Gilgamesh. There's also fun energy in the song Extinction. I think that Silver Chord is really fun. I didn't really gel with the Silver Chord when it released at the time, but when marathoning through this band's large discography for this video, I had a lot of fun visiting the Silver Chord on this run through, which is why it ranked higher than Made in Timeland, which I didn't expect would happen, but here it is, above Made in Timeland. And now we move in, finally, to the band's first official full-length album, 12 Bar Bruise. Old school garage rock, oh, hook that shit to my veins. Sound-wise, this album takes all the things that I enjoyed from Wiloughby's Beach and Teenage Giz and amped them up, because this album digs in with the garage rock sound, with the psychedelic fuzz and the punk rock energy, all with a better production, I'd argue. Elbow and Cutthroat Boogie are both killer tracks. I love those songs. Sea of Trees and Footy Footy use awesome punky tempo. McCracker 9 and the title track lean into the more psychedelic end of the album spectrum. And then Sam Cherry's Last Shot foreshadows the band's next release, that of course being Eyes Like the Sky, which we'll get to that soon. All in all, 12 Bar Bruise is a very respectable first full length for the band. I think that it's incredibly fun, and I feel nowadays definitely gets overlooked by a lot of the fan base. But now it's time to talk about my 23rd favourite King Gizzard album, that of course being their latest so far, Phantom Island. Now I had real high hopes for this thing when it was on its way out. This is the band's attempt on orchestral music, and the title track sets that direction perfectly, I'd argue. But unfortunately, some of the tracks, despite its clear new direction backing them, do feel like leftovers of the band's previous album, Flight B741, so they maybe don't fit the big band style and direction that the orchestral music sound was aiming for in some ways. Eternal Return and Panpsych are definitely feel like they were like cut B tracks from B741 in some ways. Not to say I don't enjoy those songs, But as for Silent Spirit and Lonely Cosmos, they are really enjoyable tracks, even if they don't match the album's vision and direction. And then as for Dead Stick, great track. So is Grow Your Wings and Fly. Same with Sea of Doubt. There is very strong tracks on here, but again, when this album was slated for being the orchestral album, I had such high hopes. Like, this album has a lot of good moments on it, but on its way out, when this album was coined as the orchestral album, the hype for this thing was through the roof for me, because I was really looking forward to it. But I think this album needed to completely do away with the guitars for this one, because I think it held back a lot of the songs. I think this album succeeds most when it goes all in and doesn't do half measures between the country rock of their previous album and the orchestral style that this album should have been, In some cases, this album succeeds though. Like I said, the title track, Aerodynamic, is okay as well. Like, there are good moments on it, but it's not as consistent, and it wasn't what I was hoping for. So, sorry, but this landed at 23. Right, now it's time to talk about the 22nd spot on the list with Float Along, Fill Your Lungs, the band's third full-length album. And this album digs its heels into the psychedelic rock style, so much more so than 12 Bar Bruise. To open the album with a 15-minute epic head-on pill is so bold, and I just love it. I love the echoey moods in 30 Past 7 as well. Let Me Mend the Past has a lovely swinging melody, same with God Is Calling Me Back Home. Pop in My Step has great upbeat leads, and then the title track caps off this record and ends it brilliant with awesome atmosphere throughout. But the atmosphere goes throughout the whole track listing, not just the title track at the end. It is a really fun album for the band to do, and just incredibly impressive that it was the band's third album. And if it wasn't for the fact that the band makes so many better albums after this one, then Float Along could have easily landed higher, but that's just how it goes. This band just aged like a fine wine, I guess. Okay, now it's time to talk about their second release, Eyes Like the Sky. So, it being their second album, sandwiched between 12 Bar Bruise, garage rock with psychedelic, and Float Along, Fill Your Lungs, a full psychedelic fest, what do you think Eyes Like the Sky would be? Another psychedelic rock fusion? No, it's a cult western audiobook. It's such a left turn for the band, and so impressive that they did this so early in their career. It set a precedent for their genre hopping from one album to another. So Ambrose's dad narrates the spoken word of this album, hence it being an audiobook. The doom-laden western melodies are great in this album, man. The atmosphere on this is so fucking fun, man, especially with songs like The Godman's Goat Lust. The Raid has a great galloping rhythm, excuse the pun. I love the slow tempo in Evil Man and Year of Our Lord. It literally gives off the vibe of it's high noon and the gunslinger's strolling through town with its Winchester rifle. This album, man. There's great tension in Dust in the Wind, and the melodies in Killing Ground make the song sound like the backing track of a western town standoff. Eyes Like the Sky, yeah, is just shy of the top 20 of my Gizzard albums, but I think this album is sorely underrated. I had a lot of fun listening to this thing. The story behind it is really engaging, and the musicality behind it I think is so fun. I'm a big fan of the spoken word on it. So here it is, Eyes Like the Sky. Sorely underrated, I'd argue. But now we move in to the top 20 Gizzard. Starting at the 20th spot, we have Quarters. So Quarters is the 6th full-length album of the band overall, and is comprised of 4 10-minute and 10-second length songs, making the album 40 minutes and 40 seconds long. Why is that relevant? Well, the album's name, and the fact that there are 4 tracks and they're split into 4 quarters of the album's runtime. Match that with the cover art and the overall motif of the thing, and you'll understand what I mean. This album is an experiment on the band's part in some ways to focus on letting the music breathe, as it were. In some ways it constrains them to the limits of the runtime, and I think that kind of paid off in some ways. Infinite Rise has cool somber moods throughout. God Is in the Rhythm is melancholy in tone, and The River is the record's crowning achievement, obviously. The River is kind of the only thing that keeps me coming back for this album, I'll be honest with you though I do like Infinite Rise. But I do think this whole album is definitely a great listen overall. But I think that there are just so many albums that have come after it that have trumped it that it had to sit here on the list. So now it's time to talk about Murder of the Universe. Much like Eyes Like the Sky, this is another audiobook or spoken word album with a story backing it. But this one, instead of being a cult western, spaghetti western thing, this one is headstrong in the doom metal direction, which makes it no surprise that I ended up digging this one. The riffs in the Altered Beast stuff is really fun. I like the progression in the riff work towards the end of Altered Beast 2. The energy and catchiness in the Altered Me/Beast stuff is fun. I really love the doom-laden leads in The Lord of Lightning, as well as the Floating Fire and Digital Black. And a big appeal is that this album calls back itself musically throughout to Nonagon Infinity. There are definitely some borrowed riffs from there. I also really love the energy in the Balrog as well. Overall, another really fun release, very energetic. The atmosphere in this one matched with its story and the energy, and yeah, overall, it's a really fun listen. I really enjoyed it. Go figure. Okay, moving up the list slowly but surely, we have at the 18th spot, we have Fishing for Fishies, which some people are going to be very, very sad about, but bear in mind this is my personal list and there are 27/28 of these fuckers to rank, and this had to end up somewhere. I did really like Fishing for Fishies, but there are just a lot of albums that ended up above it for me, unfortunately. This album has a heavy emphasis on synth to mix with their music, and that also, paired with the environmental themes in there, make it quite a standout in the band's discog. The title track opens the record and is really catchy and fun. The Boogeyman Sam has a brilliant bass groove in there. Same with Plastic Boogie. The piano plays an active part in Bird's song and gives that track a bouncy rhythm that I really enjoy. I enjoy the dissonance of most of the music sounding upbeat and jolly, but with the lyrical material behind it being just so dour, with lyrics talking about global warming and talking about environmental issues and everything. It's a really effective choice, I feel. And sonically, the upbeat guitar leads with the synth and awesome bass work are just really fun on this album throughout, and it was a lot of fun to go through. But unfortunately, it had to land here on the list because there are just albums that I liked more than it. But again, very enjoyable, but there it is at the 18th spot. Now it's time to talk about my 17th favourite King Gizzard, which is KG. For those wondering, this answers your question. I am ranking KG and LW as separate releases because I wanted to. So to give context, this is the second in a trilogy of microtonal adventures for the band, starting with their album Microtonal Banana, and then this one, and then LW being the third and final so far of the microtonal albums. And this album has awesome stuff on it. Automation is an awesome epic track. Minimum Brain Size and Ontology have a really cool Eastern rock sound to them. Straws in the Wind is more quirky and is like a little acoustic ditty in some ways. What's cool about these two volumes, KG and LW, is the microtonal direction in music is a really fun motif. But I like that from one song to another, these songs do stand out in their own genres. Like there's spurts of metal, there's spurts of Eastern rock and all sorts. And even synth stuff as well, you know? It's a lot of variety on KG and LW. But like I say, we'll get to LW when we get to it. But Honey sounds soothing and mellow. And then Hungry Wolf of Fate is a metal-oriented track with microtones and is a really fun ending for the album. But it also, like I said, with the synths, it has Intro Sport, which is a really fun track too. But that was KG. A really fun album, but it ranked middle of the list for me. So now it's time to talk about Ice, Death, Planets, Mushrooms and Lava, the first album in their Gizztober trilogy. This album is really fun. I did overlook it for a while, but I'm glad that I revisited these albums for this video because this album shot up in my list when I went to listening to this thing in full. So if I'm understanding this right, each song in this album fits a different musical scale, hence the name of the album and the tracks within. Ice 5 sounds really upbeat and playful, so does Mycelium in some ways, but that one's more bouncy. And then Magma and Glees 710 both sound a bit more eerie and uneasy, which is really fun. As for Hell's Itch, that's probably my favourite on the album if it's not Magma or Ice 5. This one kind of foreshadows the second album in the Gizztober trilogy with Laminated Denim. It definitely has that same sort of style. And then Iron Lung is cool and jammy with its hooks and atmosphere as well. Ice Death is another really fun release and yeah, another awesome experiment for the band. Now it's time to talk about Changes. Speaking of Giztober, Changes is the third and final of the Giztober trilogy. What I liked about Giztober is that every album had a different experiment behind it, with Ice Death being what I described. Changes is ambitious in a different way, with Changes being linked to the key changing concept. Now, I'm not a music nerd, so I'm gonna explain this really poorly, but what that means with the key changing concept is that there are now 14 chords for the band to choose from when writing these songs in this album. What I hear about Changes is that this was actually meant to be the final album of the 5 albums that released in 2017. So this album had extra time to cook in the oven, which I think it definitely benefited from. The song Change and Hate Dancing are ethereal sounding and upbeat. AstroTurf and Exploding Suns create this sense of unease in some ways through the melodies, and then Nobody is way more chill in mood. And then Gandhi and Short Change both have so much fun energy to them, and definitely Gandhi is the standout of the album. Definitely an earworm. But yeah, Changes, another excellent album. Now it's time to talk about Paper Mache Dream Balloon. So this album is the band's acoustic album. This album was their 7th full-length overall, and it's definitely a big departure from the band's like varying sounds from garage rock to cult western to psychedelic. This one is the biggest hard left turn the band has done in their early work since Eyes Like the Sky, with this one sounding in moments like the soundtrack to a kid's claymation TV show. Chill upbeat vibes in songs like Sense, Bone and Cold Cadaver are just so lovely. That's the only word I can really describe them as. Stuff like Trapdoor and Bloodstain have some fun energy to them. More of What I Like, Dirt, as well as Time, and the title track actually as well, are fun little ditties as well, with some really unique melodies in there too. This one is just an extremely fun, uplifting album, and it's a fun album to sit back and relax to, I feel, which is why I enjoy it so much. But that was Paper Mache Dream Balloon. Now, it's time to talk about my 13th favourite King Gizzard album, Infest the Rat's Nest. Now, if you're looking in this room around me, you can see that I'm quite a big metalhead, you may argue, so it's come as no surprise that this album ranked in the top half of the band's albums. Why, you may ask? Well, this is a full-bore thrash album, in the same vein as something that would be released by Slayer or Metallica or Sepultura or something. Makes for some very killer tunes on this one. Songs like Planet B, Self-Immolate, very fun stuff. This album, in context of the band's chronology, came out directly after Fishing for Fishies, so the environmental lyrical themes definitely bled into this album from that one. So lyrically, this band follows the same vein as Fishing for Fishies, but sounds like something that would come from a Testament album. Mars for the Rich is so hooky and heavy. The thrashy Slayer riff in Venusian 2 and Hell are just so cool. So manic as well. As for Organ Farmer, has a breakneck speed to it, that one. And then as for Superbug, that song revisits the more doom metal leanings of Murder of the Universe. I think that the environmental, lyrical nature of this album often helps with the tone of this dystopian thrash metal album. It is killer, it honestly is. On a personal note, this was the first King Gizzard album I ever listened to, so I owe a lot to this one. So maybe that's partially why it ranked quite high for me, because I just have such a personal affection towards it, and nostalgia as well. But there you have it. Now it's time to talk about my 12th favourite King Gizzard album, Flying Microtonal Banana. Now, going into this video, when listening to the band's albums in order of release, I expected this to rank like top 5, I just want to say. So when I was talking about KG earlier and it being a microtonal album sonically, this is the first microtonal adventure the band would do, and they labelled it Volume 1 for good reason, because they would follow this up with KG and LW. So this is the first experiment of the microtonal direction, and it's a very fun album. Rattlesnake is a very fun opener, but it did not need to be 8 minutes in runtime. I mean, come on. Especially with its repetitive chorus, it could have easily been trimmed down to 5 or 4 minutes. But still enjoyable though. I love the microtonal style, making songs like Melting and Anoxia sound off-kilter and unnerving. The lead melody in Open Water is such a damn earworm, and Sleep Drifter is one of my personal favourites. I love the energy in Nuclear Fusion and Billabong Valley. The Mad Dog Morgan bit is such a fun lead. Awesome vocal run in Doom City. It's a really killer album, not really a bad song on this whole thing, I'll be honest with you. And this album kicked off the 5 albums in 1 year stint that the band did in 2017, which makes it even more impressive that they were juggling this album as well as 4 others. So that was Flying Microtonal Banana, an absolutely awesome album. And now, just shy of the top 10, unfortunately, we have Flight B741. God, I fucking loved this album when it came out. This outing for the band goes for more of a classic 80s, like, country rock approach. Fun energy, brilliant mixture of instruments with upbeat melodies all over this thing. Mirage City is a brilliantly energetic opener, setting the good pace that this album needs. Antarctica and the title track are more slower boogies. Field of Vision, Rats in the Sky and Raw Feel are just all so feel good in tone. I love those songs. Hog Calling Contest is so fast and fun and also really whimsical. Definitely the most like out there and wacky song on this album. And then Le Risque and Sad Pilot are just so playful and boogie driven as well. Le Risque as well, by the way, was obsessed with that song when the single came out. Crazy stuff. All in all, really fond of this album. I just also remember have really fond memories with the build up to it as well. I also just really enjoy this era of music that this album's imitating, so of course I was going to enjoy it. Okay, we're in the top 10 now, so there's no fucking about. At the 10th spot we have Omnium Gatherum. This one, much like Microtonal Banana, I expected this to land in the top 5, but unfortunately this had to be pushed out to the top 10. I really like it when an album has a mixture of genres within it, and I think what I like most about this album is that it shows on full display the sonic variety that the band has in its genre hopping. So from one song to another you might have heavy metal riffs like on Predator X, and then have more synth and like chill laxed vibes on like Magenta Mountain or Presumptuous. There's also rap moments in there like Sadie Sorceress and Grim Reaper. I love the metal doomy riffs in Gaia as well as Predator X, as I previously mentioned. The more atmospheric moments with Candles and Red Smoke as well as Kepler 22b are just so soothing and fun. I also love the feel-good vibes in Evilest Man and Blame It on the Weather. And then there's the Dripping Tap, which was made with the band and Tropical Fuckstorm. Great song. Did not need to be 18 minutes though. It could have easily been trimmed down to like 10 minutes or less, I'll argue, but still extremely enjoyable track. Omnium Gatherum, extremely pleasant album to listen to. Such a wide variety in styles and genres throughout the track listing. It's incredibly engaging from top to bottom, especially with how long the album is in runtime, and it never really lost my attention, so there it is, at number 10. Okay, at the 9th spot, we're really getting down to the heavy hitters now. We have a left ball pick with Laminated Denim, which I bet a lot of people are surprised that it landed this high, but I have a certain affection towards this one that I guess not many people have, especially considering I ranked Made in Timeland so low. I kind of surprised myself how high I ranked this album, but when this one came out, I really enjoyed it, man. And the enjoyment factor of Laminated Denim has not worn off on me since. I still think that it is an incredibly enjoyable half an hour of music. It definitely needs to be compared to Made in Timeland because the titles of these albums are anagrams of each other, right? And it's comprised of 2 15-minute tracks, just like Made in Timeland. But I think what I really enjoyed about Laminated Denim is its laid-back approach. And I think also because Laminated Denim sonically kind of sounds like it's the band now attempting the psychedelic rock of the early works of like Float Along Fill Your Lungs and like Mind Fuzz and Quarters, but in a more matured approach. And I think Laminated Denim sounds more concise and polished for those reasons, because it's an older band attempting something that they did when they were younger. I love the laid-back jammy style of the psychedelic rock on this one, you know, and it just really hit. Land Before Timeland and Hypertension are just 2 halves of a record that have such consistent energy to them. It's almost hypnotic with how fun they are, you know? I don't really know how else to defend this album to other people though. There is just a certain enjoyment factor that I can't really describe to you. You just have to kind of listen to it for yourself and make your own judgment, I think, and really give it a proper go though. But that was Laminated Denim. Now it's time to talk about my 8th favourite King Gizzard album, which is yet another album that I expected to land in the top 5, but it's Butterfly 3000. So this one is when the band went for a full synth pop album with bright hooks and upbeat lyrics and leads, and they achieved this direction to tremendous effect. This being one of the most consistent and just overall concise albums in their catalogue. It's so rich with gorgeous melodies in there. Yours is gorgeous with melody. That song particularly is just a warm hug for your ears. I love Shanghai, it's a great lounge about song, such lush melodies in there. And then the song Dreams plays so well into Blue Morpho, carrying similar sonic themes with those two songs. Catching Smoke is super catchy as well. Interior People sounds so joyful and feel good as well. I love that song. Speaking of feel good songs, Ya Love is there as well as another really awesome, joyous song to listen to. And then the title track sounds awesome as well with lovely synths. I think that this thing is tremendous and is such a different album, but it's just so enjoyable from front to back. If there's any King Gizzard album that I would listen to put me in a good mood, it would either be Flight B741, which we've discussed, or this. It is so damn lovely to listen to, and lovely is the word to describe it. But unfortunately, Butterfly 3000 was just narrowly beaten out by my 7th favourite King Gizzard album, Nonagon Infinity. Yet another album that I expected to land in the top 5. This is an early classic for the band. So this one came out just as the band was gaining popularity in their early years, and the band wanted to approach this one as an infinitely looping album, so each song transition into the next, into the next, into the next, until the final track links back to the first track seamlessly. And that's a fun motif, but if it was just for that little gimmick of the album and nothing else, then it wouldn't have ranked this high. But the music within this album is just so damn killer. It's basically more like punk rock energy to it, like their early psychedelic stuff. So many standouts in this thing, like Robot Stop, leading into Big Fig Wasp, leading into Gamma Knife, leading into People Vultures, into Mr. Beat. There's so much on this album that is just so damn fun to listen to. My favourite on here being Evil Death Roll as well, and also Road Train is a standout as well. But this album doesn't go all 10 all the time. It does slow things down for a more quirky moment here and there with songs like Mr. Beat and Wah Wah. It just makes it a very fun listen overall, and it's not hard to see why this is one of the most popular albums from the band among its fan base. But there you have it. That was Nonagon Infinity, another killer album from the band. Now it's time to move in to quite an interesting left ball pick. I think that people didn't expect this one to rank so high. But we have Gumboot Soup. Now why did this rank so high, you may ask? Well, for the same reasons as Omnium Gatherum, but in some ways even more so here. So Omnium Gatherum being a compilation album with a few different genres spurred in, this album is the same thing but with a more concise runtime. Now I didn't complain about the runtime of Omnium Gatherum. I do however feel that the runtime is way more concise and put together here. Like a tighter 11-track runtime is much more my cup of tea than the 16 tracks that Omnium Gatherum is, right? I also think the songs on Gumboot Soup are slightly stronger in some cases, like Beginner's Luck, Muddy Water, Great Chain of Being. All Is Known is a great song as well. I also love The Wheel and Barefoot Desert. I love the laid-back vibes on songs like Last Oasis as well as I'm Sleeping In. I think that the variety on here is present and is very appealing, but again, it just has a tighter track listing for me, which is why it ranked so high, and I guess I just listened to this album right place, right time. I guess, is kind of the other thing. The boogie-filled bass work in Beginner's Luck is so fun. The metal elements in Greenhouse Heat Death is so damn heavy. I love the jazz fusion stuff in Last Oasis and The Wheel as well. So much cool different stuff to offer on this one. It's great. Definitely one of the most overlooked albums from the band is Gumboot Soup, I would argue. And now, moving into the top 5, we move in from one overlooked King Gizzard album to another. We have LW. Now I bet no one expected this one to rank above the other Microtonal albums, but it most certainly did, and for good reason. So this continues the Microtonal themes from obviously Microtonal Banana and KG. LW being the back half of KG is maybe why it's so overlooked, but I implore you, give this one another go, because this has so many killer tracks in it that I just love to bits. Going back to what I said about Gumboot Soup and Omnium Gatherum, is I like the variety from song to song, and LW offers that, but with the microtonal style in there. If not now then when is more boogie-centric with its bass work. One has a really cool stomping anthemic rhythm in there, and the acoustic string work in East-West Link is so damn catchy and fun. Same applies for Static Electricity. I love that this album ends with a 8-minute epic doom metal stomp with the track KGLW. I like Atraxia as well, a great track. Also Save Me. Pleura is so weird and whimsical and psychedelic in tone. I really like LW, if you couldn't tell, hence it being in my top 5. But again, super overlooked. So now it's time to talk about my 4th favourite King Gizzard album of all time. We have Sketches of Brunswick East. So I probably surprised a lot of people by landing this in my top 5 albums, because I see no one rank this album very high, but I absolutely adore this thing. This album is very chill in comparison to most of the band's music. It's basically jazz fusion lounge music, and the folky jazz approach leaves this album feeling very serene in mood overall. So maybe the fact that it's not exciting as the others and high energy and high octane and all that as maybe the other band's albums, maybe is why this one slips under the radar for everybody. But I really love the laid back approach of this one. I love to just stick this album on, put my headphones on, and just fall asleep to it. I'll be honest with you, it is a lovely album. Countdown sets you up for the type of vibe that this album is. D-Day has a vibe similar to Microtonal Banana in some ways. Planes, Cranes and Migraines has a groovy feel to it. The Spider in Me has a sort of sleepscapey feel to it. You Can Be Your Silhouette is nice and chill, but also a bit boogie filled. I love the split up 3 parts of the title track and the lead melody that runs through those 3 songs. Going back to it, the main appeal for this album, it's the perfect chill album to have droning in the background while you fall asleep. That's the best way to experience this one for me. If there was ever a King Gizzard album that I would put on to calm me down and relax me, it would always be this one. Absolutely perfect album front to back. I love the unique style of it. Well done King Gizzard, well done Mile High Club. It's such a fun listen, it really is. This is the sort of direction that I was hoping that Phantom Island would go in, which is maybe why I was so disappointed in Phantom Island. But that was Sketches of Brunswick East as my 4th favourite King Gizzard album. Now moving on to my number 3, we have Polygondawanaland. This probably is no shock to anyone that this ranked high. I see this ranking high for quite a lot of people. This album is the band attempting the prog rock style and achieving it to great effect, I would argue. And of course, me being a big prog rock guy, was very much into this album when I heard it. The opening track, Crumbling Castle, is honestly just a masterpiece. I have nothing to say about it, no complaints. The title track gets stuck in my head all the time with that lead in there. Awesome lush melodies in Castle in the Air. And then Desert Tunes, Welcome Weary Feet and Loyalty uses synth so well in those. Inner Cell and Searching are creepy almost with their leads, which I really enjoyed. And then the melodies on The Fourth Colour are so fun, and that is just such a great closing track. I love The Fourth Colour. That's probably my favourite track on the album if I had to pick, but it is a tight race between that one, the title track, and with Crumbling Castle obviously. What's also fun about this one is that they released this album for free at the time, which is just such a fun little thing for the band to do, because over the years the band have just done so many musical experiments, like releasing albums for free, for releasing them in microtonal styles, for releasing them to a specific rhythm or to a specific scale, or just chucking out a compilation album and it being one of the band's best albums overall. The band just has so much on offer, and they never stop experimenting with what they do and hopping outside their wheelhouse, and this album's no exception. Brilliant album. And as well as that, it was one of the 5 albums that came out in 2017, which makes it more impressive that they were juggling that, as well as Murder of the Universe, Microtonal Banana, Gumboot Soup, and Sketches of Brunswick East. It's crazy. Okay, so we're in the top 2 albums now. Finally. It's been a long road, but we're at the end. And if you've been paying attention, you know what's left. So now, my second favourite King Gizzard album of all time is Petrodragonic Apocalypse or Dawn of Eternal Night, an annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of merciless damnation. Yes, I did memorise the album name because it is just that damn good. This album takes what was so great about Infest the Rat's Nest but makes it more ambitious and progressive with its thrashy metal approach. The riffs that ramp up in Motor Spirit are so damn infectious, and as for Supercell, the guitar squeals are so massive in the chorus of that song. The breakneck pace of Converge and Flamethrower are just so killer. The vocal leads in Witchcraft are so catchy, and Gila Monster and Dragon are so anthemic, and yet so much piss and vinegar in those songs. This record does not let up for a single second. It is full-bore progressive thrash metal the whole way through. The band took everything they did well with Infest the Rat's Nest, like I say, but just added so much more grandiose to it. And of course, me being a metalhead at heart, I'm gonna fucking love the shit out of this album because of everything about it. The art, the music, the title. It's great. I love this album so damn much. Nothing else to really say. I think that no one should be surprised that this ranked so high. It is definitely one of the band's strongest albums of all time. And it would have easily ranked at number 1 if it wasn't for my undying love for I'm in Your Mind, Fuzz. Now this is a cult classic for the band for good reason, and it's not hard to see why in the slightest. This album is a fucking masterpiece. It is one of my personal favourite albums of all time. Let's get into it. The opening suite, as it were, is brilliant with the I'm in Your Mind, I'm Not in Your Mind, Cellophane, and then the title track. It's a brilliant 4-part song which has so much energy to it, but each of those 4 songs having a bit to offer on their own, separate from their connected little musical adventure there. And with those 4 songs like seemingly transitioning into each other, perfectly foreshadows Nonagon Infinity as well. Empty is honestly probably my favourite King Gizzard song of all time. I love that song so much for so many reasons. But also, same with Am I in Heaven? Another excellent song. A very ambitious song as well with its runtime. A very, very, very fun listen. Hot Water is moody and gloomy, just so cool. And then I love the closing suite of the album being Slow Jam 1, Satan Speeds Up, and Her and I. 3 brilliant, slower, more moody, psychedelic, spacey songs. Brilliant mellow note to simmer the album out on. I like it when an album starts super hype and then slowly the album like dips down into a more mellow tone towards the end, where it ends on a sort of ballady, softer moment for the listener to reflect on the chaos that they were listening to on the album. Overall, this album is a masterpiece, I'll say again for the last time, and it is by far and away my favourite King Gizzard album. Going into this video, I'll be honest, I kind of knew this would be number 1, but there you have it. Finally, we are done. We have ranked every single King Gizzard album from worst to best, and now I immediately want to change my list because I feel like I put Fishing for Fishies too low, or maybe I put Omnium Gatherum too high. I don't know, but I've locked in the list now. The video's been recorded, it's over. I've talked about each of the band's album at length, and now my throat is dying, and so I need to rest and grab some Strepsils. So, thank you very much for watching. If you made it to the end, you're an absolute trooper. Thank you. Did you agree with my list? Probably not. It's kind of impossible for a King Gizzard fan to have a matching list with another King Gizzard fan, just how many albums there are. But if you have your own different list, write them in the comments. I'd be interested to hear how you rank the Gizzard albums, because goddamn, was it hard for me to choose which of these albums I love above others. That'll do it for me. Thank you once again, one last time, for watching this long discography ranking. And thank you King Gizzard for releasing so many great albums over the years. But there you have it, that'll do it for this video. Goodbye.